Good evening. We're going to call this workshop session of the Lewisville City Council to order. It is 6:05 p.m. and we do have a quorum. Microphones arrived. They will hear everything in this room, even the stuff you don't want recorded. So make sure that pay attention to the mics. Let's see here. Item A, we're going to discuss the consent and regular agenda items. So council, wander through there. Let's see here. First up is the invocation, and Councilmember Meredith has I requested that Councilmember Meredith to take the invocation tonight. He gracefully accepted. Thank you. And then I've got the flags. We have a proclamation as Starship Bagel Day, so that'll be fun. We have a presentation with the certificates of appointment and oaths of offices for all of our reappointed and newly appointed members of the city's boards, commissions, and committees. So very excited to see all those folks tonight. E1, public hearing, ordinance of the Lewisville City Council zoning for 3.027 acres of land from agricultural open to light industrial. Any questions on that one? Item E2, zoning ordinance change, special use permit for automobile repair minor on 0.61 acres. Any questions on that one?
For clarity, when I was reading through that, it said somebody showed up at P&Z, but they were talking about a different concern with a different property. That's why those notes weren't in the P&Z notes.
Yes, they were complaining about on-street parking that was not coming from this use.
That is right. I mean, it does abut up to housing, but I guess it's a lesser intensity use than already out there.
Correct.
Moving in the right direction. Item 3, public hearing. Adoption of an amendment to the 2023 CDBG for reallocating funds from the multifamily accessibility program to Fox Hembry and a couple of other projects. Questions?
I do have a question about that. I've done some cleanups out there. Maybe this is a bigger room discussion, but I've done some cleanups out there, and it gets used as illegal dumping quite a bit, at least when I've done cleanups. Have we done anything? I know that was a cause Brandon had taken up, but I don't know if anything ever came of that. For example, flock cameras, some sort of video. So there's only one road in, so it might be pretty easy to monitor.
Yeah. I don't believe we actually put any cameras out there. Chris Lee, did we ever put any cameras out by Fox Hembry Cemetery? I don't think we have. I don't know if flock cameras are pretty expensive. I'm not sure that's the best, but maybe we could look at some other additional type of cameras going out there.
Yeah, the flock just gets a license plate anyway. It's not going to show you what's in there.
Right.
Yeah, there are some cameras that we have that have been put out there in years past, but I don't know anything.
I don't think we have anything recent.
Yeah, no, not anything. And it doesn't look like a camera. It's kind of cool. But I won't give away any operational secrets.
I don't know if I mind it looking like a camera. The goal is to get people from dumping out there, right? If it says camera here, I'm okay with that.
If we were to do that, I think we would sign it. So you're under video surveillance or something.
Big camera flashing light too.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on item 3? Item 4, adjustments to the CDBG.
Am I missing something? Because the boys and girls seem to be short.
Yes, they do. So, and we're going to go through this in one of our agenda items for workshop, just to make sure you see kind of how all the flow is working, because it's really confusing when you have to break it down by year. But yeah, so basically we're taking funding from multiple years to be able to fund projects. So that's why it's showing it twice.
Item 3 is 23-24. Item 4 is 24-25.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, thank you.
That's why we have that workshop. I thought it was
Item 5, adoption of the 2025 annual action plan for CDBG. Questions on that one? Next is the consent agenda. Item 6, approval of the minutes. Item 7, $944,000 in bid award for 4-Star Excavating. This is underground utility repairs. Item 8. This is a professional services agreement for $500,000 for our wastewater treatment plant.
This is a reduction.
It's a reduction.
Reduction, yes, there it is, reducing the agreement amount. There we go. Questions on this one? And that was a fee.
Yeah, it's really from changing the service delivery from CMAR to competitive seal proposal, I think. It just, this company is one that helps us kind of go through the CMAR process. It's kind of like Chris Squadra's company, but they do it for infrastructure. And here, by moving the project delivery, their workload kind of shifts more to the front end, but is ultimately less.
Item 9, a new 5-year agreement with Hilltop Securities for arbitrage. Item 10, subdivision improvement agreement for park improvements between the City of Lewisville and Josie Lane LLC. This is letting the developer construct a small park according to our guidelines, but they're going to go ahead and do it as part of their build-out. Item 11, interlocal agreement between the city and town of Flower Mound for a youth services program that includes the teen court and youth diversion. Item 12, 2025 State Local Cybersecurity Grant Award in the amount of $39,201.74. Appreciate the team running that to ground. Item H, regular hearing, 1 alternative standard associated with landscape standards for Broken Halos Haven. Questions or concerns on that one?
Because I don't know, those grades that we're waiving here, what's the purpose of those grades? Is it to contain the root system?
Yes, it's more for an urban setting, very similar to what's on Leonard Street next to the station in Old Town. When you have a wider sidewalk, it allows ample room for the trees to grow when they're, between the curb, surrounded by concrete. In this case, the wider sidewalks and the wider street's not there yet, so this is just going to allow the trees to get established, and then those improvements, we can add grades later on if it's the, if it's the design.
Okay, thank you.
So, do the grades serve a utility? Like, do they create a better walking surface so that you get a few more inches of walkable surface, or is it just aesthetic?
Several feet of more walking surface, but then allowing rainwater to percolate down into the root system.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome, thank you. And then we get to reports. Do we have anything in closed session?
No.
All right. Next up, item B, streetlight feasibility study. We have Jason Tanko, our CEO of Tanko Lighting. We do have a close. Okay.
I forgot.
That's all right. Thank you.
Everyone just freaked out on me. I'm sorry. Sorry.
There.
It's like, no, we don't.
Awesome. Gentlemen, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to introduce Jason Tanko, CEO of Tanko Lighting. So this is going to be a report based on a feasibility study for actually purchasing and operating and maintaining the city's streetlights. So we would be looking at buying those from TNMP and CoServe and how the operation would work and the financials of that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jason and he can go through that for you.
Okay. Would you want to actually click this?
Not at all.
So what we're going to be talking about is actually the street lights here, just to make that clear. We're not going to be talking about the traffic signal. So my name is Jason Tanko. I'm the CEO of our little consulting firm. We're out of San Francisco, and I love street lights. I get to play with them every day. So I couldn't tell you, I just love doing what I do, and I'm really great at it. So we have done a feasibility for the city. We're going to walk through kind of where you're at, so maybe some options of where to go. By all means, whenever questions come up, just fire away. So a little bit about us, just a single slide. We're really unique because all we do is just street lighting. We don't work in other civil engineering or other A&E stuff. It's just only street lights. Almost 1 million lights in contract, and almost half of those have been acquiring street lights around the country, almost to a tune of 130 contracts. It's been mostly on the coast, but this is becoming more and more of a national trend because of the benefits and the cost savings around ownership. We actually do maintain some streetlights. That's not a requirement here, but it gives us really good context because I'm not guessing at what your future costs would be on maintenance. I know them, I live them. And then, of course, almost 300 projects encompassing all of this. The most important thing about streetlights, it's really about public safety. You know, they're in the right-of-way, they are there to light the streets and the sidewalks to make sure people don't trip, or they could see hazards. If somebody's crossing the road, they could be seeing something not hit, or in case something is in the road, a driver could avoid it. So they're really no different than traffic signals, any other sorts of signs, markings, anything else that's within the right-of-way. So again, accidents and pedestrians, that's the main thing. So it's a critical piece of infrastructure. The irony is this is one of the things that's in the right-of-way that does a lot of work for the city, but you currently don't own it. It's rather ironic because you own everything else and you maintain everything else. So it's really your duty to control the right-of-way. That's where these lights will be located, in public property. And you know, you guys basically had all these lights installed to begin with. At some point, somebody said, put a light here. Now, granted, TNMP and CoServe were the ones who put them in, but we're now going to look at maybe should the city take those over. And so currently, the majority, if not all the lights, are owned by two major utilities. And we're going to go through some of the costs, which is really one of the focuses here, because obviously this should be advantageous financially for the city. So this is a breakdown. This is really just off the bills. We have not done an audit or anything, but you can see the numbers based on TNMP, that's Texas New Mexico Power, and then CoServe. CoServe is a public utility that has some of the city. These are the two utilities we'll be looking to engage and acquire the lights. The current annual costs, you can see it's rather significant, $687,000. Hardly any of these lights have been converted to LED, so that will be another benefit is once the city will buy out the system in theory, we will convert them to LED right away. That will capture the maintenance savings as quickly as possible. The lighting that you have is really old technology. It's hard to see in, it's high pressure sodium. Color rendering is very difficult to see, so like your pink suit, your orange suit, that would all look shades of gray. So by going to LED, colors will be truer, it'll be easier to see you know, items, and excuse me, it'll be easier to see people as they move in the right of way. So currently, high cost, low service, that's the irony. You're paying the most amount right now for these lights, you're getting the least amount of service. They're not out inspecting these lights, making sure they work, and yet you're paying really the high-end floor for it. So we want to reverse that, lower your costs, and improve the service. So 3 options that we looked at. Option number 1 is, again, kind of some of the things I've been going after, which would be to look at the ownership transfer. Option number 2 was to look at, well, what if you stayed with the 2 utilities and you had them convert under their LED programs? And then option 3 is really just to do nothing. Over time, the lights would be converted to LED. As they fail, they would be putting in new fixtures, but that could be kind of a hodgepodge, and that will really take forever. It's usually maybe 5% at best, so it's quite a long time. So there's a lot to take in here. So I think what might be best is to look at the 20-year opportunity cost. So this would be option 1, you take over the system. So your 20-year operating cost will be just under $5 million. That's your cost. So if you were to compare that to utility owned, so let's say you didn't buy the lights, they stay with you 2 utilities, they convert to LED, your costs are now $19 million. So that's the difference. You'd have an LED system in both, but this is if the utility owns it, this is if you own it. And so the operational savings, now this is based upon your current system. So if we were to buy it out and convert to LED, your rates compared to your current rates, it's $7.2 million. So there's a couple things in flux here. Your current rates are what we did conservatively, but TNMP's rates are actually going up significantly if you convert to LED. So you get a rate of return in 5.3 years, and then more importantly, you can see the project cost. So this $2.7 million would be inclusive of all fees and everything to essentially complete this, including writing the check to TNMP and CoServe, which is one of the larger costs involved. So this is a very helpful slide. How do you do this? I mean, we got all these lights everywhere. It's best to break it down into just something simple. So right over here, we're looking at 100-watt high-pressure sodium fixture. This would be very common in like residential neighborhoods. So that's 25% of your system. You're currently paying $14.12 per month per light. So that is made up of, and this is what's great about this is published in TNMP's rates. You can look it up, it'll show you right there. $10.42, this is what they're charging for their rate and maintenance.
Whoops, the touchscreen.
Oh, sorry, thank you. And then there's other fees. Oops, there we go. Yeah, so there's other fees also affiliated with it, with generation and transmission. That would be from, basically because it's a deregulated market. That could be like JEXA or somebody else. And then there's some other riders. So that's how this $14.12 is made up. So under this scenario, you buy them out, now you own them. You'll have a similar structure here. Your total cost will be $3.75, not $14.12. Your rate, just alone, is where the majority. You're not paying 65 cents for that LED fixture. High pressure sodium, you're paying $10.42. So there's still some generation and transmission riders, and then we have added in maintenance. This is an overestimation on maintenance at $2, but it's a good budgeting item. So you can see the savings are significant. This was with, okay, so this is also with TNMP. So this would be option 2. So let's say we stay with TNMP. What would that look like? So same starting rate, high pressure sodium, they own it. If they convert it to LED, your rate more than doubles. So that new rate would now be $28.01 as opposed to $10.42. You would get some benefit of their LED system because your riders would fall. You're consuming a little bit less. That's why it's $131 as opposed to $370 there.
This is if we force them to convert, or is this what's happening today when one converts?
So any LED in the system right now with TNMP, that's what you're paying. And if they convert the whole system, this is what you pay per light.
So if a sodium goes out in my neighborhood, they come back and retrofit it with LED, I go from 14 to 29.
That's correct.
Which I do want to point out, that is what they're going to do because they can't replace the high pressure sodium because that technology's, they can't buy it.
Right, right.
Yeah, if the fixtures failed, they're going to put up an LED and then your rate jumps. And so basically the scenario is, do you buy, do you not buy? Let's say you don't buy, this would be your reality.
Yeah.
Your rates would more than double on at least every fixture that's a 100 watt. It's even worse on higher wattages, but just since this was 25% of the system, it just shows you some of the weighted amounts.
So essentially that 687 is going to go to 1.3 million
Yeah, it's gonna increase.
Yeah, it would drastically
No.
increase.
if we did nothing.
That's correct. Yeah, so we'd either do it in scenario 3 at a slow percentage each year, or if you just say, hey TNMP, I'm gonna stay with you, convert all the lights, yeah, you would more than double your current cost. And really not adding anything. Great, thanks for the LED system, but they're not gonna increase their maintenance. You know, they're not gonna go out and check to make sure the lights are working. You're still kind of stuck to their priority of when lights get fixed. And currently, this is the last thing they work on. Oh, okay. So, again, a lot moving here, so we'll just focus on these bubbles here. So again, at option 1, this is a comparison of acquiring the lights versus your current costs. So we're just trying to limit like how many different scenarios here. Right now, we know if we stick with TNMP, it's horrible. But let's just say between buying out now and staying with TNMP, you know, what would just your cost savings on your current cost? So right now you're spending $687, right? That's an all HPS TNMP system. Now it becomes a city-owned LED. That's where you get the savings, 508. It's all within the rates and within the riders. And so compared to option 2, this is if you were to stay with TNMP and then convert within them, you're looking at negative 172,000. I think this would be, yeah, so you can see your kilowatt hour savings. So I have to double check if this is actually supposed to be option 3 over time. But either way, staying with TNMP is just not, I mean, they're almost basically telling you buy the system. I don't want to do the streetlights. So this is actually taken directly from their rate schedule. Again, this is online. This is published information. This goes through the Texas Public Utilities Commission. So this is where we pulled some of that data from. So 100 watt high pressure sodium fixture, 1042. And then this is their LED rate, really looking at an underground fixture compared to that same light, 65 cents. So you can see there's other scenarios where it's even worse. There's like double cobra heads. If it's wood, it's a little bit cheaper because they're not really paying for the pole, but still, everything compared to 65 cents, this is just a ripoff. So some other benefits, obviously, you know, reducing costs is great, but you know, Also improving public service, I think, is a huge part here. I mean, this is really what streetlights are for and what they're intended to do. So those are obviously number one and number two for sure. Smart cities access by owning all of these lights, almost these 3,000 lights. That's the ability to potentially use that photocell receptacle on top for putting in cameras. You know, there's a way you could potentially even tie all the lights together through a system where you could remote monitor them. These are things to look at. Some of them aren't really advantageous. I feel they're just taking your savings. But it is something to look at if, you know, because you have that power outlet, they could be adding some functionality. Another thing that has been common is putting in like shot spotter, which is like a triangulation system in case like a gunshot goes off. You can use the street lights to triangulate that. Another benefit here is this is fully outsourced. No one's going to get hired internally to do this. You're actually already doing the maximum amount of work. When a citizen calls in, they think the city already owns the lights, so they're calling you with the outages, then you have to call TNMP and turn them in. You're actually now going to be able to do something about it. We expect that the contract and all the maintenance will be outsourced. So, like I said, you're already getting the phone calls in for these outages. Now you'll be able to just get them corrected much quicker. So actually, over time, you'll have less to do with the system. But again, this should be fully outsourced. All the maintenance we would expect would be bid out, and a contractor would be hired on a maybe a 1 to 3 year basis to do the maintenance. So the recommendation, as I've been kind of pushing it that way, is just go after. We think the best option is to take over the system. Go after the $500,000 savings. The 74%, this is everything put together. This is cost before to cost after, so this does include maintenance. And then, of course, the $7.2 million is the long-term gain. As utility rates escalate, you know, you'll be at the lowest possible bracket. So we think $7.2 million is conservative. You'll probably save more than that. So next two steps we really see as engage with both CoServe and TNMP on purchase and sale and start maybe looking at their environment for selling the systems. And I would get started on doing an audit. So the audit would be going out and looking at every fixture and comparing it to your current bills, making sure those are correct. And then looking at the field conditions too, because we don't want to be buying fixtures that maybe are either missing or have some damage. We'll want those repaired and up in best condition before the city takes over. And that's it.
I have a couple of questions I jotted down. So I'm curious, usually you get economies of scale when you do more of these things, right? So you think utility companies they're doing thousands of these. Why are they so much more expensive than the cities doing themselves, which is smaller?
So in terms of the context of the conversion, you're saying, or?
In the context of running them, so you're just projecting $7 million of savings. If the utility company is doing tens of thousands of these, or hundreds of thousands of these across the state, why is it so more expensive for them to do this than us individually?
They're currently making money off of it, so they're definitely, it isn't as expensive. You know, the other piece too is their crews are doing everything. They're hanging a pole one day, maybe fixing a light at the end of the day, you know, on another. So they're not devoted to this. This is, again, the last thing that they'll work on. So it's just not really a priority.
They just don't want the business.
And I think that's basically what TNMP is communicating.
Okay.
And some utilities really don't want to deal with the streetlights. They just feel like they're a pain. So it does appear that TNMP is interested in potentially turning the system over.
And you'd mentioned something that we did on before, is like how do you detect when a street light goes out? But this would allow you to, I looked online, there's several systems out there. I guess you can plug in mostly the LED for smart systems and say, okay, this light's stayed out. Is that something you've used before, recommend or recommend?
Yeah, we look at it on every project. Very few projects have actually gone through to do with it. The problem with the remote control on the streetlights is you're searching for a needle in the haystack. So now when you go to LED, you have very little links in the chain that go wrong. The average loss rate we see is roughly around 0.5%. So to put in 3,000 nodes and to pay $2 per pole per month just to find that 1 or 2 outage, it's just not worth it. So it could be looked at, but they're really just stealing your savings.
And what is the lifespan of the LED versus the bulbs we have in place today?
So all the fixtures, including the existing high pressure sodium, are rated for 100,000 hours. So what that means is that the fixture itself, its half-life is essentially 100,000. That means up to that point, half the lights will have died,
Right.
or they'll at least be at 70% of their initial lumen output. So there's no big like fail point that you're heading towards. The majority of the lights will continue to work. It's just, so again, like at 25 years, either some will have failed or they'll be at 70%, but still we would only anticipate you're replacing them at a slower attrition rate of, again, maybe 0.5% per year.
But the LEDs don't last any longer than the current systems that we have in place.
So, two things about the current system. So currently LEDs is kind of, think of it as just like a one car. You don't even put fuel into it. Right now, with the current fixtures, the fixture lasts 100,000 hours, but you'd have to go out and change the bulb every 4 to 6 years. With LED, there's nothing to change. It either works or it doesn't. So with high pressure sodium, you've got a bulb and a fixture. Fixture goes 100,000 hours, and then the bulb again is only 4 to 6 years. LED, just all in one.
It's like a ballast.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a transformer ballast in the HPS. It has a similar life in the LED as well.
And lastly, what's a project, how long does a project like this take to, you say, hey, we're gonna go to Lewisville, is this a 10-year project, a 2-year project?
I'd say it can be completed within 12 months. Everything from utility ownership, HPS, to city-owned LED, and you have your maintenance options sorted out.
Thank you.
Yep.
So when you change out the fixture to, or the head to LED, does the top of the pole fixture get changed out?
So there's really two classifications of fixtures. In the initial slide, those were decorative post tops. It's likely the fixture would look the same. We would put in essentially LED guts in the light. Some of the fixtures that you have are Cobra head. Let's go to a slide. What's the next slide? Keep going back up. Keep going back up. It was towards the beginning. There was a picture. Yeah, this one. This is a Cobra head. So we're just going to pull the head off on that one and put a new head on. So the pole and everything remains.
The one I have near my house is one of those kind of octagonal shapes.
Yeah, decorative.
Decorative shape. So if it's if that fixture is kind of yellowed out, the lenses, is that getting changed? That part getting changed?
So that would be part of the retrofit. Is what's worked best especially with residential fixtures or downtowns. We don't want to change the look of that head. So typically what we do, and what is least expensive, is to rebuild it. So if it does need new lenses, we would order the lenses and they would be replaced, as well as you would take out any of the high pressure sodium, like guts or ballast, and make it LED. So ideally, the fixture will literally look identical before and after. It will just now function as an LED. That's the least amount of cost. Most decorative LED fixtures can cost $1,200, $1,500, so that's just not worth buying a whole new head.
Yeah.
And I think Claire mentioned to me when we were talking about it that we could get these painted as well. So I know we get a lot of neighborhood complaints that the posts have not been painted since they were installed.
It's been one of the hard things is we get complaints a lot about that, or like that are leaning poles. And the issue is like for TNMP, unless it's a certain angle proposed, they're not going to, unless it's dangerous, they're not going to replace it or do anything with it. And definitely with the painting, they have no plans to do that. But we can't paint their assets, so we have to tell the public, sorry, I can't do anything, that's TNMP, and then TNMP sometimes points the finger back at us, and we're like, we can't do anything, it's your asset. So it's just been a difficult situation where we can't find a solution with the current box we're in to solve a community problem. And
the way I look at this number, Patrick, is that they're just like when you and I do a proposal, that somebody's asking for something unreasonable. We write a number, and if they take that number, we'll go do the work. But it's a ridiculous number. I think they're doing the exact same thing. They don't want to do this work.
If we're looking at Lewisville saving $7 million across, what was it, 20 years? Is that what it was?
That's right.
And you multiply that number of cities who do this, it's like, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that they're going to lose if everybody converts over. It just seems odd. They just let that go because they don't want the work.
And I've asked this question probably for 10 years, converting to LED, and it's always been this answer, is that it's ridiculously expensive, but just somebody's obviously figured out how to get in there and to buy the system. So the question then becomes, is this something that we want to take on the O&M on or outsource that piece of it? So, and can we do that at a cost point that makes sense? I'm looking at that $2 number in there, and I'm assuming that carries all the way through. So there's, somebody's making money, they're just not making as a killing.
I know I've had a lot of residents, a lot of frustration with these lights being changed out. So I get it. It just takes forever to get a light bulb changed out, to get a fixture changed out.
Have you ever entered into a value-based contract where we say, okay, you're going to say $7 million, but you'll take a depressed fee to get some of the upside, and that's the money comes to fruition?
I mean, that's typically how energy services companies operate, and typically with the risk, they're taking upwards of 40% of your savings. Our cost compared to your savings is probably in the low single-digit percentages. Like I know with League City, it was probably at 2 to 3%. So it's really, there's a perceived risk that you're getting, but the reality is you're not number one doing this. You're like number 150.
So even if the 7 million was half, you'd still be on the positive side because the cost of what it would do with this internal is still less.
It's true, but it might make you feel better, but then you also lost $3.5 million that should have been taxpayer money back to maybe do other things, you know, other programs, paint the poles, other things like that. So, I mean, the benefit that I offer is that I'm on the hook for this as well. I'm legally liable for everything I present. I have errors, emissions, insurance, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm asking you,
yeah.
as your company, you know, have you gone at a risk-based arrangement before? Said, okay, you said we're gonna say 7 million, we believe you, kinda. We'll enter into a percentage agreement and say, okay, we'll give you X percent of that savings.
It's rarely come up because, I mean, ethically, I know better. I mean, to take your money for no added value, I feel like that's a tough position to do because I know that you could do better on your own.
So a fixture like this with the Cobra, you're just changing, say, pole's good, you're just changing the fixture out, what does that cost?
Typically, this would run maybe under $350, maybe $375 all in. The actual like field construction, so that would be labor in the field and the fixture. And they're going through this rather quickly. I've had contractors who change out 70, 80 lights in a day.
So I know that's a pretty good cost. I know I deal with Dallas, Encore. Encore's charging way more than that. So it's a good cost.
So we wanted the timing on this was important because the desire was to try to move forward with this project and budget in your base budget for the acquisition. The next phase, other than talking to TNMP and CoServe and seeing if they're even interested in this type of arrangement, is we do a full assessment of all the assets that are on the field. So they're going to literally be out there just looking at every single asset and then checking our bills to make sure so that we really know, we true up exact dollar amounts of what our savings are going to be. We know exactly what we're going to be doing and what actions when we start taking this we have to go do. So we have that in our budget, but I didn't want to derail the entire budget retreat for this offshoot issue. So I wanted to have this here on this workshop to make sure you guys had seen it, had an opportunity to ask questions. If you guys are interested in moving forward, it's already programmed in your base budget going forward. So if you are not, then I need to know.
Let me ask this question. You said something that I honed in on, said if Encore is interested. Do we have by right to purchase these? Or you know what, we want to keep our $8 million from, we're not going to sell to you.
So our plan, we think, would be effective. Number one, we do think TNMP, is actually I think the utility you're referencing, they do seem favorable to selling. I think CoServe, because they're a public utility, I can talk them into it, because I've done it before. Because TNMP was purchased by another investment group in May, that does pose some risk, because they could close the door just as much as they opened it. You're currently sitting on the rights to do it, so I have a backup plan, essentially using you as home rule and a current your ordinance process to essentially force them to do it. And there's not much they could really do it, the way it appears.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? I'm not hearing anybody pushing back on moving forward. I think you got consensus.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tinker. All right. Item C, Cattle Drive Parade discussion. Mr. Kunke is here to present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My voice is a little off this evening, so if you have trouble hearing me, please wave and I will try to be louder. Just a couple of quick slides for you and updating you on the situation we faced with one of our 3 parades. Quick recap. Oh yeah, parades are fun, right? Otherwise, you're stuck in traffic and you're not happy. Can you click for me, please? Who knows where I'll take us? These are the 3 parades the city's been involved in. The first on the left is Cattle Drive Parade. It started in 2004. Our total budget for that is about $15,000. $10,000 of that is to bring in the Longhorn herd from, oddly enough, Oklahoma. And then the rest is for sound system and some other ancillary expenses. You'll actually notice the Christmas Parade 5,000, same 5,000, same uses. In 2024, we had about 35 entries. That was down. About a third of those were equestrian related. The biggest number of them were decorated vehicles. Had about 900 estimated spectators along Mill Street for that. The route started on Main Street between Callan and Hatcher, essentially. Went along Main, turned north on Mill, and headed north on Mill up to the rodeo grounds. Homecoming Parade is held in October. Started, we think, in 1954. Just a prove me wrong moment there. But 54, we have pictures of parade floats and vehicles. 53, we do not. So we're going to trust that. It's also when the band started, so it works out. The school runs this parade. We help them, especially fire departments. Mark here, especially fire department, with the lineup, and then with sweepers and so forth, and they use our barricades and they use our lights at the pep rally. Our budget there is $2,200. That's to rent some lights and some equipment such as that. The sound, if we aren't able to get it from the Lewisville Grand Theater. Their route starts on Cowan Street between Main and Poydras, runs along Main to Mill, makes the big U-turn onto Church Street in front of City Hall. They drop off here in front of the restaurants. People come back to the pep rally in front of City Hall. And the third one is a Christmas parade. It's held in December, started in 2003. We run that whole parade, $5,000 budget. 54 entries were signed up in 24. Weather washed it out. But 54 is a pretty common number. We're always between 50 and 60. A little variance on either end for that parade. Estimated spectators about 3,000. That's based on 2023. It was down a little in 23. It was very hot in 23. We're working on shade structures to make that better. And it starts at Main and Callan, runs to Mill Street, turns south on Mill Street, and goes down to Mill Street Elementary. The work on Mill Street, just south of Main, makes us a little nervous getting large vehicles to make that turn. But we've measured it. It can be done. We just have to make sure that the best drivers are making those turns. Slide.
James, do we have an estimated count for how many people come to the homecoming parade, or do we not do that?
I don't even try.
I mean, there's a lot.
It is by far the biggest parade in terms of floats, in terms of participants, in terms of familiarity within the community. The pep rally itself is probably in the neighborhood of 1,800, maybe more like 2,000. And you figure that is going to be about a third of the parade crowd. So the parade is probably pulling 5,000 people, maybe 6. Big old bags, like Halloween, take their candy and go home. So 5,000 is a conservative estimate, 6,000 if we want to really feel our oats. So this is just about cattle drive parade. I'll tell you why we're talking about this. Some of you have heard this information already. So the cattle drive parade came back in 2004. Old Town Business Association decided to bring back Western Day. It had been gone for about 4 years. It used to be run from kind of 74 to the 90s, mostly by volunteers through the chamber. They ran out of volunteers. It's a hard thing to do. OTBA brought it back in 2004. 2007, they came to us and said, you know what? It's really hard to do. Please take it over. So we took over Western Day back in 2007, including the parade. The parade was suspended for 4 years. Yes, 4 years during construction of Wayne Ferguson Plaza, just because moving crowds back and forth was very difficult during that time. We had no parade in 2020. So you can see the parade has not been an annual, it's been an annual-ish event. After 2020, in 2021, we were looking for ways to get the parade outside of the festival zone at Western Days. I'll explain that in a moment. And that year, the PBR Lewisville program began 2 weeks earlier than Western Days. Actually, that year was 1 week earlier. We had one big week. So we moved the parade up in the schedule a week. We had it in the afternoon leading up to PBR Lewisville for various reasons, partly to promote that event. But the biggest was right over here. We had safety concerns at Western Days. That crowd, overall for 2 days, it can hit 30,000 people. At the time of the parade, being midday Saturday, usually you've got about 10 to 11,000 people on the grounds at that time. And moving thousands of people off of Main Street to make room for Longhorns who, let's face it, Longhorns go where they want to go. Those pedestrian barricades that look so nice and safe, that's for the toddlers. That is not for the cattle. If the cattle want to go through those barricades, they go through them. That's why we get trained, calm and very well fed and happy Longhorns for that parade. But trying to clear the streets, We had to do it very early in the day in order to have public services run the barricades out there. They got really good. First year they did it, it took about 4.5 hours with 2 trucks and 2 crews. Now they can hit that route in what, maybe an hour? Hour and 10 minutes, they're quick, they're good. But with all the people in the street, they have people out in front clearing the way. So they do it early in the day to make sure the crowds are smaller. What that does is it blocks off those vendors on Main Street, so they lose a lot of traffic. It's also a logistical issue. Bringing a parade into the zone, through the zone, out of the zone, leaves the gates wide open. And challenges that you put on Main Street. Main Street has to basically be open, has to stay clear. Those past few years we started putting things on Main Street. This year we plan to actually have 2 stages on Main Street, one of them where the parade would normally have gone. So we had a lot of reasons we didn't want it there. So we found what we thought was a good alternative for it. Frankly, over the past few years, it hasn't quite gotten its own identity. If you look at the participation numbers, we had about 51 entries the first year. It dropped to 27 entries 2 years ago. Last year was back up into the 30s. So it hasn't gotten its audience, partly as the heat, we think. Partly is that it's not a big festival that draws a lot of people, so it doesn't have as much reason to go. Once you go there, it's over. You're not going to the rodeo, to the PBR, why do it? And so we were planning to bring it back this year, give it one more shot. We had some plans, staff's developed ways to try and boost participation and attendance at both of the city parades, Christmas and Cattle Drive. But then we learned that PBR Lewisville was not going to come back to Lewisville. PBR 3 years ago started a new concept called team bull riding. And they set up teams in Austin, Oklahoma City, various cities, mostly in this circuit district. And the members of the teams are randomly appointed, so they have mostly no connection to Austin, Oklahoma City, whatever, they're teams. The past 2 years, if you went to PBR Lewisville, you heard them announcing this. Well, not last year. Last year was the same day as team riding, so all the team people were gone. 2 years ago, they said, here's rider John Smith. John Smith is from Abilene, and he's on Team Austin. Yay! Yay for Team Austin. They've now decided they're really going to push hard on the team concept. They're pulling their support from a lot of these regional circuits, such as ours. So when talking to our consultant, he said PBR was not prepared to continue that partnership. They want to continue, they want to really push hard on the teams. We have found a replacement event. We haven't signed a contract yet, is why we haven't brought it to you. We should this week, but it is a senior PBR. Understand, bull riding's rough on the body. Senior PBR means over 30. And so these are pro bull riders that have been good. For whatever reason, they decided, man, that's hard. I'll still do it a few times a year, but not every weekend. So we're very close to an agreement with them. They want to come here. They've actually got their sponsor lined up, but we haven't signed the contract yet. We hope to get that done in the next couple of days. So based on that, we thought, well, maybe we could bring the parade back one more year. Again, try those things, but now you're tying it to an even less known event and a brand new event that honestly, we don't know if it's going to come back. Maybe it shows up one year and we don't like it, they don't like it, there's an issue, we just don't know. So with all the unknowns, staff's leaning was to eliminate the parade this year. We have other options on the table. The savings of about $15,000, our thought was to roll into Western Days, because Western Days always eats up every bit of budget we give it. Logistics has been going up every year. We just don't come to you for more money. We find ways to cover it. This is one way we could cover it. Having said that, I think that's my last slide.
It is.
It is my last slide. Yes, I'm quick. I'm here to answer any questions you might have or any suggestions you might have without taking up just too much of your time unless you want to. Council?
I was just gonna say, I'm perfectly fine with, I mean, I've been personally disappointed with the turnout for the PBR parade. It just, for all the reasons that you said, I just think people just don't have a reason to come down for that parade. So if we've got other options, I am all ears.
I mean, if we could put the football team on the backs of the Longhorns, that'd be one heck of a homecoming parade. Oh, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I need to call risk real quick.
I feel like I know the answer.
One idea we talked about, I hate to throw this out there because you might love it, we don't know if it'll even work, but I will because I love you. We talked about maybe moving to the spring where the weather is better and doing it leading up to Texas to St. Patty's Texas style, make it a Texas-themed St. Patty's event. A lot of logistical changes, a lot of things to figure out first, how it works. But it's something, if there's interest, we can explore it more and see if it's feasible. Right now, it's just a pie-in-the-sky idea. That's really been the only key thing.
Yeah, that really was the question. I know, for us, I think just readjusting the budget and putting it towards Western Days makes sense, but we don't know how emotionally attached council was to this parade and the Longhorns. I personally am not that attached. I know Gina and I disagree. She is attached.
I like the Longhorns. I mean, I like the Longhorns. I don't like the PBR weekend. When it separated from Western Days, I understand the difficulty with the logistics and all the things, but it really took away a big reason for people to be there. So, it hasn't made much sense for me with PBR because there's nothing, it's the parade and then there's nothing.
I think you're right on the money on this. I think it's, well, a couple of things. First of all, I think it's the heat, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you've got the parade before the event, and there's like a lag time, even though it's not that much. I think people are just waiting for the rodeo, not the parade, and it's not worth their time to, like, I know I've gone to the parade, gone home, and jumped in the pool, and then came back to the rodeo, so I get it, but I think, I do like the St. Patty's Day thing, but.
I like the idea of putting some of that money towards towards Western Days, because we're always tying a budget for that. But I've always felt like we don't really do, we talked about this before, I think you and Claire and James, you and I have talked about it. We don't really have much by way of Veterans Day, Memorial Day. We might try to put some money to something. I realize other cities go all out, but they go all out for Christmas parades and everything else that we also do. So I'd love to explore that option.
Other comments? I think we've got at least some consensus around not doing this. We've got what looks like at least some interest in exploring cows with kilts.
We won't dye them green because they don't like that.
And I think I'm hearing that we're okay with moving that money into Western Days for now, but there's a Memorial Day request. I might look to move, if we're looking at money, I would want to maybe talk about, okay, what would that money benefit existing events as part of the conversation, and or new events. So I don't have a problem, but I'd like to broaden that conversation if we're shifting money.
I'm okay with that. My concern though is that undoing momentum is difficult. So when I come back next year and say, hey, what happened to Memorial Day, Veterans Day stuff? Well, we put all the money other places, Patrick. I don't want to have that conversation. So if we can have a general person's agreement here that we can revisit that, I'm okay with it for this year, but I don't want to have the momentum behind it and not even able to have the discussion next year.
Why don't we put it towards Western Days this year since we're so close, but that we bring an item back in the next year about, we did it a year ago or 2 years ago, about what our events are, making sure we true up what our events are, knowing that we have this funding potential to shift to something else and we can get a consensus from the council. Is that okay?
I think that works.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
All right, Council, I have been given some updated information about item D, the CDBG annual action plan review. That is actually just to explain the two items that we had,
The three items.
or three items that we had on the agenda. So does anybody have any questions about that? Do you want to come back in and go through the CDBG action plan review, or do you think you've got what you need to go have a conversation and decisions within council meeting?
I'm okay.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Jim.
Ashley, you're off the hook.
And Elena.
I know it's a great, I mean, I looked at it, it was good, it was good, it was very clean. All right, so we will go ahead and move past item D and then just right into our regular session. So we are done with our work session and we will circle back in about 7 minutes. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock and we're going to call this regular session of the Lewisville City Council to order. We do have a quorum. First up on tonight's agenda, we have the invocation with Councilmember William Meredith.
Please join me in a moment of silent contemplation. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledges to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. There we go. Good evening. There it is. How's everybody doing? Green light. There it is. Green light, go. All right. Tonight I have the privilege of recognizing a local Lewisville business. Orrin, where are you? There we go. I need my friends from Starship Bagel to come on up here. Now, for those of you who don't know about Starship Bagel, where have you been? So, Starship Bagel, in 23, went to New York City and won Best Bagel in the country against all those folks on that side of the world. They then turned around, and while they got second place on bagels, they got first place in schmear. Now, that's the basil schmear that did that, right? That's right. It is amazing. So again, 2 years in a row, went to New York, kicked butt, did Texas proud. Then this year we had Guy Fieri come by, and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We actually had a showing. I'm sure you can catch it, but Guy was here, and the bagel was enormous. How big was that bagel that you guys put together for him?
We made him a 5-pound pretzel bagel.
So, yeah, which is my favorite of the bagels, except for the wasabi sesame, but some things I can't get back. With that being said, no, we also, we have one other accolade that Orrin and his team have created, because I know anytime it's a team, right? But Orrin was a finalist for the James Beard Award, which is one of the premier awards in culinary everything. And it's amazing. He went up against some amazing patisseries, pastry shops, all that stuff. The Humble Bagel from Lewisville, Texas made that cut. So I cannot be more proud of Orrin and his team and what they have done to represent Lewisville, and they've done us proud. So with that, I have a brief proclamation. Whereas Starship Bagel is an authentic New York-style bagel shop located on Main Street in Lewisville since 2021 and owned by Orrin Salmon. And whereas Starship Bagel was a decisive winner as the best bagel at the 2023 Bagel Fest held in New York City, and then won Best Schmear and placed second for Best Bagel at the 2024 Bagel Fest. And whereas Starship Bagel enjoyed a moment in the national television spotlight in June of 25 when it was featured on Guy Fieri's hit Food Network show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And whereas Starship Bagel recently was nominated for a 2025 James Beard Award for Outstanding Bakery, the first bagel shop to be nominated in that category. Now, therefore, I, T.J. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Lewisville, on behalf of the Lewisville City Council, do hereby proclaim Monday, August 4th, 2025 as Starship Bagel Day in Lewisville, Texas, and encourage all residents to help this local business celebrate its recent accomplishments. I did so by getting a lovely tomato sandwich this morning. Let's give them a hand. Orrin, you got a few words?
Thank you so much, TJ and the city of Lewisville, for this honor. When I started, on Main Street, right next to the high school 4 years ago, I could have never imagined any of these things happening, let alone standing right here and receiving this proclamation from TJ. And I just want to say that it couldn't have happened anywhere else. Lewisville was the perfect place to launch a business. From day one, the city has had our back, has been extremely supportive, way more friendly than another municipality that I have locations in. And I just want to say that of the things that we've accomplished in the past 4 years, besides this exact moment right now, my proudest moment was putting the city of Lewisville on national TV for Triple D. Seeing city of Lewisville named, mentioned, signed, shown, we're on the map. Thanks, guys.
I think we want to get one further. Get Guy in there. It's not a donut. What was that?
That's our trophy.
Awesome. Oh, we got one more. Awesome. No worries. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Glad you're here. Appreciate you guys. Nice to see you. That was a great breakfast. And folks, you know, yeah, I'm a customer at Orange Bagel Shop, but that doesn't mean that we had the London Baker here a month or two ago. We want to celebrate local businesses. So if you have a local business and you think they need this kind of an accolade, or just haven't seen it done, let's have that conversation, because we love our small businesses and we want to make sure they're successful and give them every opportunity to thrive. With that, I do need to move on to our certificates of appointment and oaths of offices to reappointed and newly appointed members of the city's boards, commissions, and committees. I believe there are a bunch of folks here with their oath and certificate, and if you all would mind joining me here at the front. And our city secretary will be administering the oaths of offices. Or office. So come on down.
How are you? Come on, Sophia.
There might be a couple of us that have multiples. If so, make sure you read both boards and places that you're involved in. Otherwise, here we go.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute the duties. Of the office of the city of Lewisville. State of Texas. And will to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend. The Constitution and laws of the United States. And of this state. And the charter and ordinances of this city. And I furthermore solemnly swear. That I have not directly or indirectly paid. Offered or promised to pay. Contributed nor promised to contribute. Any money or valuable thing. Or promise any public office or employment. As a reward to secure my appointment. So help me God.
All right. Need you all to stay here just for a second. Also, these need to be signed and given back. No sign, no official. So first of all, the folks standing by me are local government. They are your government. They are the folks that give of themselves, their time and their treasure to make sure that our city does great things. Without them, your city council could not do everything that it does. We could not process the tremendous amount of information required from every one of these boards and the leadership of these boards. We couldn't do it as a council. We rely on these residents to be our eyes and ears on each one of these committees, these boards, and they're incredibly important boards. They all work extremely hard. I expect you all to work extremely hard. But I couldn't be more proud to see what has happened since I first got involved with the city back in 2003, 2004. I remember back in those days, and there's many of us here in the room that do, where we had folks that were on multiple boards and commissions because we didn't have enough volunteers. We didn't have enough folks that felt that civic engagement was something that they wanted to do. And over time, we now have competitive applications. We have great lists of residents who are interested in giving their feedback. And we don't have to wander around rattling the can, begging for people to participate. I couldn't be more proud of our city and our residents for stepping up and understanding that this is what makes things work. It's not what's on social media. It's not what you see on TV. It's not about selling eyeballs to divide us. It's about meeting people where they are and building community. And you all are a great model of that. I cannot thank you enough for the time and effort. Please don't come to me when it's too much time and effort, because I'm sorry, you're signed up. You did it. And with that, let's give them a round of applause. Unless you want the microphone, you all are welcome to hang out for the rest of the council meeting. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I have a little speech, but just give it. I can't see it.
Good to see you. Don't forget to sign those and turn them back in, those oaths of offices. All right, item E1, public hearing, consideration of an ordinance of the Lewisville City Council amending the zoning ordinance by rezoning approximately 3.027 acres of land out of the Edmund 8A survey, abstract number 11, located at 421 Bennett Lane, from agricultural open space district zoning to light industrial district zoning, correcting the official zoning map, preserving all other portions of the zoning ordinance, determining that the zoning amendment herein made promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city, providing for a savings clause, repeal or severability, a penalty, and an effective date as requested by James U. Lovett Industrial LLC on behalf of Eduardo and Anna Ortuno, the property owners, case number 25-04-9-Z. 421 Bennett Lane is currently zoned agricultural open space and is requested to be rezoned to light industrial, matching the zoning to north, east, and south of the property. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously, 7-0, recommended approval of this case at their July 15th, 2025 meeting, and it is recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, is available for questions, and the public hearing on this is now open. I do have one card here from Mr. James Yu at 3811 Turtle Creek Boulevard, number 1050, Dallas, Texas, here to speak in support. He doesn't wish to speak, but he is here available for questions on the property. I don't have any further public comments, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing, unless council has questions.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
So I see a lot of, in the location map, I see a lot of LI. I also see that we do have some single-family residentially zoned properties, but I also suspect are there any of these LI properties that are also being used as a residential property as well?
Yes, especially the larger ones to the east. Those are larger kind of ranchette-style homes that have been there for many decades. And some of those, this particular property is being combined with the property of equal size to the east to create a larger development site.
And is that one also, that LI is being used as residential use right now?
Yes.
Okay. Have we heard anything from any of the residences on Pine Street?
We didn't receive any comments.
We didn't receive any comments, and notifications were sent?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you would please vote. Public hearing is now closed. 5-0 was the vote. Council will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
Motion to approve the ordinance is set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you would please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item 2, public hearing. Consideration on ordinance of the Lewisville City Council amending the zoning ordinance by granting a special use permit for automobile repair minor on approximately .61 acres legally described as Thomas Addition, Lot 1, Block A, located at 500 South Keeley Avenue and Zoned Light Industrial District, providing for a savings clause, repeal or severability penalty, and an effective date as requested by Ezekiel Kaufman, Mobile Tire LLC, the property owner, case number 25-06-9-SUP. Mobile Tire is a minor automotive service shop looking to occupy the existing building at 500 South Keeley Avenue. A special use permit is required as the property does not meet the 200-foot distance from a single-family property, has bay doors facing the street, and does not have a landscape buffer. The proposed business only operates on vehicles off-site of their establishment and will not store any customer cars on the premises. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously, 7-0, recommended approval at their July 15th, 2025 meeting, and it is recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Mr. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, is available for questions, and the public hearing on this is now open. Council, I do not have any cards or comments for public hearing. Are there any questions or comments?
Am I remembering this one correctly, Richard, that there are no proposed modifications to the building at all?
Correct. They did a general cleanup and spruced up the exterior, but nothing that required a building permit.
Okay.
Yeah, they did put a pipe fence up. Am I thinking about the same place? They replaced the
Yes.
fence, so
Yeah,
so
they
a little bit of
replaced-
improvement, but not a ton.
Correct.
And there is housing over there right now, right? But
Yes.
can you explain what's going on in that building right now, or was going on before this purchase?
Yeah, previously this was air conditioning, HVAC business that I believe outgrew the site, and so they had a lot of vehicles, a lot of outside storage, a lot more intense use than what is there now. That was a permitted use. That's considered a service contractor. The unique thing about the proposal associated with this SUP is that, the work is done off-site. This site is strictly storing the service vehicles and their tools, and they just make appointments going out to the off-site locations to perform the tire service. And so it's going to be very nondescript, much lower intensity than what was there or any of the potential permitted uses that could go in without an SUP.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Council will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Council will entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, can I get a clarification really quick?
Yeah.
Richard, I see on the agenda that our motion was just to approve, but then there's all those conditions. You wanted all those conditions, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So in your memo, backup memo, there should be multiple conditions. I'm not sure. Jen, did you include those or no?
Yeah, there
It is? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption with the following conditions. Number 1, the vehicles in need of repair shall not be stored or repaired outdoors on the site. Number 2, all repair activities shall take place off-site. And number 3, no outside storage shall be allowed on the site.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Council, if you'd please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Council. Item 3, public hearing, consideration of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, providing for the adoption of an amendment to the city's 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan to reallocate funds from the Multifamily Accessibility Program to the Fox Hembry Historical Cemetery Restoration, United Way of Denton County HVAC Unit Replacement Project, and the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County HVAC Replacement Project, and authorization for the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The 2023-2024 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan included allocating $345,799 to a multifamily accessibility program to modify residential units for low to moderate income renters in multifamily housing complexes to gain or increase accessibility to the units or common area. City staff encountered challenges identifying a multifamily complex willing to utilize these CDBG funds. Reallocating the funds to other projects will ensure timely expenditure and compliance with the Department of Housing and Urban Development's timeliness test. Funding would be reallocated to 3 projects: Fox Henry Historical Cemetery Restoration, United Way of Denton County HVAC Unit Replacement, and Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County HVAC Replacement projects. It's recommended that the City Council approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption above. We do now have a public hearing, and it is now open. Council, are there any questions or comments?
I would, as per our discussion back in workshop, I would like to make sure that we consider preventative measures as part of the Fox Henry. It's an historical place for us. We've done cleanups out there, and it tends to be used as illegal dumping grounds. So anything we can do to prevent and prosecute people who are using that in such a way, I'd love to see that part of this grant process. Thank you.
Other comments? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or voting on the software. That'll work too. Motion passes 5-0. All right. Council, I then need a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item 4, public hearing, consideration of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, providing for the adoption of an amendment to the city's 2024 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan to reallocate funds from the Multifamily Accessibility Program to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County HVAC Replacement Project and Denton County Friends of the Family's Family Justice Center Development Project, and authorization for the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The 2024-2025 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan included allocating $166,166 to a multifamily accessibility program to modify residential units for low to moderate income renters in the multifamily housing complexes to gain or increase accessibility to the units or common area. City staff encountered challenges identifying a multifamily complex willing to utilize these CDBG funds. Reallocating the funds to other projects will ensure timely expenditure and compliance with the Department of Housing and Urban Development's timeliness test. Funding would be reallocated to 2 projects: Boys and Girls Club of Greater Tarrant County HVAC Replacement and Denton County Friends of the Family Justice Center. It's recommended that the City Council approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption above. The public hearing on this item is now open. I do not have any comments. Council, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Public hearing is now closed. Council, we now need a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you'd please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item 5, public hearing, consideration of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, providing for the adoption of the 2025 Annual Action Plan as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorization for the city manager or her designee to submit the plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. An annual action plan must be submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development by August 15th, 2025 as a requirement to receive Community Development Block Grant funds of $847,606 and Home Investment Partnership funds of $347,555.08 in fiscal year 2025-2026. The CDBG Advisory Committee reviewed the applications submitted by nonprofit agencies for projects that address HUD national objectives and consolidated plan priorities. At a meeting on June 17, 2025, the committee voted 5-0 to recommend a social services budget. The plan was made available for a 30-day public comment period. It's recommended that the City Council approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption above. And the public hearing on this item is now open. I do not have any cards or comments that have been submitted. Council, if there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Council, if you'd please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Council, we'll need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the resolution and authorize the city manager or her designee to submit the plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item F, Visitors Forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. City Secretary, I do not have any public comment cards on this one. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to item G, consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and being enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so request. For a member of the public to request removal of an item, a speaker card or e-comment must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. Council, I don't have any comments to pull anything, so I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Item H, regular hearing, number 13, consideration of one alternative standard associated with landscape standards for Broken Halos Haven on approximately .0918 acres legally described as Lot 6, Block 10, Keeley Edition, zoned Old Town Mixed Use 2, located at 334 East Walter Street, as requested by Brittany Youngblood McAdams on behalf of Leaf, Kell Knutson, and Natalie Reed Knutson, Capital LLC, the property owner, case number 25-05-9-ALTSTD. Broken Halos Haven, a nonprofit organization, is constructing a new facility at 334 East Walter Street. One alternative standard is requested based on the existing unfinished street section. A, to plant trees in the right-of-way without the tree grates as required per section 6.8.3.8. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously 7-0 at their July 15th, 2025 meeting, and it's recommended that the City Council approve the item as listed in the caption above. Mr. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, is available for questions, and I don't have any comment cards or anything on this one, so council?
I have a question. It's not so much about the landscaping, but since the shared parking agreement is in this packet, I did have a question, just really a curiosity, because there is a clause in this agreement that says that it may be terminated by either party within 30 days written notice to the other party. So what happens, since there's no parking on this site at all, it's all shared parking, what happens if the other property owners decide that they want to terminate the agreement? What happens?
I guess something we would have to look into as part of their requirement. They still would need to be in compliance, so they would either have to come up with an alternative standard or execute an agreement with another property owner in the area. So that's something we would, they would be in violation of the Unified Development Code if that were to occur.
And is there a,
And sorry, I need to interrupt here. We're not posted for we're only posted for talking about the alternative standard with landscape standards.
okay, well, I'm just asking a clarification question. I'm just curious what happens, but if we're not allowed, I'll just ask you offline then.
Other questions? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the request as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, if you please vote. William passes 5-0. William passes. Motion passes 5-0. Guess whose vote I was waiting for? All right. Item I, reports. Reports about items of community interest regarding which no action will be taken. I do have first up our Director of Parks and Recreation, Ms. Stacy Anaya, to report on the Thrive closure.
Mayor, City Council members, park fans, just a couple of updates on end of summer activities and closures that will be coming up. So Thrive will be shutting down starting on August 18th through August 24th. That's to do our annual shutdown where we've survived summer, need to clean the floors, redo some stuff at the pool, make any updates. So for those of y'all that enjoy Thrive, make sure that you have plans to engage in activities elsewhere in the park system. Also a reminder that Sun Valley Aquatic Center We go to weekends only after this Sunday, and our last day of operations will be August 31st, but never fear. We have an aquatic experience available for everyone through October 1st at the Old Town Splash Park.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have our Director of Neighborhood Inspection Services, Mr. Chris McGinn.
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to remind everybody that this month is Clear the Shelters. So we've waived the adoption fees at the shelter for the entire month of August. And so if anyone out there is interested in the pets that we have up for adoption, they can go to lewisvillepets.com /adopt to see what animals are available. And basically all the adoptions come with sterilization, microchip, viral vaccines, rabies vaccine, heartworm testing if required, and 1 year of registration with the city. This is our 11th year participating in the Clear the Shelters event with NBC Universal, and so we look forward to another year for Clear the Shelter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody, and there's a lot of hard work to get this up and running. So it's a great program, and I hope we find some homes. With that, Councilmember Kelly, you mind if we start with you?
Sure. So I would love to. Are we going to get to do videos again with the shelter dogs and animals that we did last time? That'd be fantastic. I enjoyed that a lot. So anyway, just throwing that back out there. So real quick, I read on Facebook that Lewisville doesn't have any cultural events. If you don't think we have cultural events, I don't know why you're not at the Grand. We went there on Friday for Dracula Comedy of Terrors. It was great. It's in the side theater over there. It's fantastic. There's art going on all the time. There's always something going on. So I encourage you, please, before you post something like that or buy into that, take a look at the Grand. And there's things going all over the city, but that's just something we did recently, and that's a fantastic venue out there. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Green? Councilmember Tipton? Councilmember Meredith?
Yes, some library activities for the week. Fruit stamp tea towels for adults, Wednesday, August 6th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Crawford Meeting Room. Registration is required. Story Stroll Story Time at East Hill Park for families with children of all ages, Friday, August 8th, 10 to 10:30 a.m. East Hill Park. No registration or ticket is required. And that's all I've got.
Councilmember Troyer?
Yes, I have a number of items from the Grand Theater. First of all, the Black Box Songwriter Series with Tish Hinojosa, presented by the City of Lewisville on August 10th. And the quarterly acoustic jam session songwriter challenge. This time the theme is Still Truckin'. That will be presented by the Visual Art League of Lewisville, August 15th at 7 p.m. And then there's a songwriting workshop with Tish Hinojosa, presented by the City of Lewisville on August 9th. Neighborhood Grant Workshop, presented by the City of Lewisville on August 12th. And finally, Val Art Talk, From Funny Farmer to Fine Artist. One Journey Through Art, Life, and Academia, presented by the Visual Art League of Lewisville on August 12th.
Thank you, sir. City Manager? Nothing? All right. I do want to remind folks that we do have our annual budget workshop this Saturday at 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Lewisville City Hall lower level. This is, again, a public meeting, so y'all are invited to attend. If you want to figure out how the budget works in a municipality, I'd encourage you to come by because this is a massive data dump, and you will get more education than you ever thought possible. So it'd be a great way to understand how a city budget works. If you have time, come on by. We'd love to have you. With that, we do have closed session. So in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.072, Real Estate Property Acquisition, and Section 551.087, Economic Development, Deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, we are going to break into closed session.